movement, exercise, training is not just about keeping your body healthy, your brain healthy, but it's literally about staying connected to your body, your physiology. People take that for granted, actually. You get up, you get ready, you go out, you do your day, and you almost forget that you have this thing called a body, right? Because why would you remember? What I am suggesting here is that you want to connect with every part of your body. Number one, it keeps you very grateful. And that gratitude goes a long way. When you are consistently grateful, appreciative for your body, your health, your vitality, guess what it does? It keeps it growing stronger. This is The Roxanne Show. Get ready. It's time to rise. Hey, welcome back to The Roxanne Show. In today's episode, I am going to share with you 3 of my personal non-negotiables, daily non-negotiables that help to keep me very invigorated, enriched with vitality, inspired, and just ultimately feeling really good. And before we get going into this episode, I just want you to think about this question. Do you have any daily non-negotiables in your life that help you do the same? Second question is, how committed to those non-negotiables are you? First non-negotiable in my life. I call it me first and then the world. So we hear a lot about the importance of morning routines. I've certainly talked about my morning ritual. I prefer the word ritual. Rituals, in my definition, it's a routine done with heart and soul. And I have had a morning ritual for, it feels like forever now, for years and years and years and years. And aspects of it have changed over the years, but some staple pieces of it are just, they're locked in, like my journaling, my meditation, and reading are the 3 elements that just don't change. The importance for me of having a morning ritual, first and foremost, is it's me spending time with myself before I go out here and spend time out here in the world on every single level, whether it's watching something, listening to something, consuming information, whether it's, being out here in work, giving, coaching, mentoring, having meetings, all the things that can come with work. Any and all of that, anything external. It's so important to me personally to go inward, to spend time with myself, to listen to myself, to do this introspective work that I'm always talking about here that allows me to really get to know more of where I'm at that moment of my life. Perhaps if there's some kind of challenge, I invite myself to think about the challenge, to, investigate the challenge, and just to really kind of sit with the challenge a bit, right? So that I can learn the ways that will support me to move through the challenge more powerfully. I also love this time for myself because it allows me to download so many of the ideas that are woven into my work, that come out here through the podcast, that are being put into the book that I'm currently writing, that goes into all my writing online, and certainly into my coaching and mentoring women. So it's a really, really important time that I could not just pass up. And, it's really easy to grab your phone in the morning and start scrolling Instagram, the news, which to me, I can't even ever watch the news these days because it's such a hijack of your nervous system. And it's designed for that, but I'll leave that conversation for another episode. I really want to focus on how creating this time for you right out the gate in the morning is so supportive to help you not just forge a stronger self bond, but to also help direct your energy and your intention as you move through the day, right? You get really clear on your feelings, on, how you want to navigate your day. You get very intentional, you get very directional, and this helps your focus big time, versus you wake up and let's just say you open your phone and you go to Instagram or TikTok, whatever you do, and you have no idea what you are about to experience. And it could just be one thing, one flash video, one word, one picture, something that just completely takes over you, consumes you, and you won't even be aware of it. But all of a sudden, your mind is going in a certain direction, and now it's creating a certain feeling, and then that feeling is influencing how you show up and how you navigate. And I'm just bringing awareness to this reality that if you don't have awareness around this, you will very easily be hijacked. So it's not just to avoid that, the suggestion to make time to go inward first, but it's more so even to make sure that you're acknowledging yourself before anybody else. And I understand that this may not be easy for everyone. You know, you might be a parent and you get out the bed and you got to kind of just rush right to parenting, or, you know, whatever the case is. Everybody has a different lifestyle, and I'm certainly not here to tell you how to do your life, but I am inviting you to think about this idea of, do you have some kind of practice in place that is like what I'm suggesting, that helps you to root into yourself, to get yourself into a very strong, intentional, harmonized, directional state before you do anything else in the day. And it doesn't have to take an hour to do this. That's a really important insert. You could literally be putting on your face mask, brushing your teeth, you know, and just that time in the bathroom and just having a conversation with yourself, you know, almost like a form of meditation. The point is just trying to avoid giving your attention to the external. You know, I'm not saying avoid your family. I'm just saying the external, the out here world, before you go inward first. You're going to be a lot stronger to face anything that comes at you from the external or that you engage with by doing this. And that's a very important piece. For me, it most certainly is one of the most important aspects. You know, a hard day, if I'm about to step into a hard day, and I don't even mean that, you know, by way of like the work that I have to face or anything like that. Let's just say certain things happen that are out of my control that make the day hard. Having that time with myself in the morning absolutely helps me move through really any form of a hard day, but certainly a hard day that I wasn't expecting, and it supports my resiliency to move through it as well, to really essentially recover from it. So it just doesn't, you know, take me out for the rest of the week. So for me, number one, non-negotiable is me first and then the world. Something for you to think about. You may also already have a morning routine or a morning ritual. This is the last piece I'll say before I move on to the next. It's interesting. I've been seeing a lot on Instagram lately that is this sort of attack on a morning ritual. There's a lot of humor, actually very funny reels. I cannot deny that some of this shit is so funny that I'm seeing. Because, of course, like anything else, a lot of people take it to such an extreme level, you know, so it becomes this, you know, 2-hour doing all the things, biohacking, etc. And so then you have other people come on and go, no, I don't have to do any of that shit. Like the morning routine is just getting in the way. Just get up and handle your business. And here's what I want to say about that. So first of all, everybody's biology and physiology is different. Some people actually do need a little bit of time to move out of theta, alpha, right? You wake up, you go from theta to alpha. And in alpha, you're very calm. That's why it's an epic time to meditate, to journal, to go do the introspective work. You know, it's very hard to just jump into beta. Right now, I'm in beta. Hopefully I'm moving into gamma, right? Going to be more into a flow state. But for the most part, we're all operating for the most part of the day in beta wave brain waves, right? And not everybody can just jump, nor should they jump. I certainly don't jump into beta. That's also a very masculine energy directive. And that can work for me. Sometimes I will shorten that gap in the morning or that time in the morning and execute a little faster, but it's because I feel like I can. My body, my physiology is ready to just go push. And it doesn't always feel that way. And I'm going to say this too, if you are a menstruating woman, every week you will feel different. So there might be some weeks where you're just firing, ovulation phase, like you might just be like, let's go, right? Late luteal phase, it might take you longer. There might be a little bit more of a lag, and it makes sense. You're supposed to be a little slower there. So I say all this because everybody fucking has an opinion. I mean, obviously I have one too, but what I want to give to you is, first of all, listening to your body is, in my opinion, always number one over the most successful person who's helping you or, trying to give you advice and tell you, no, just get up and handle your business. Or again, even me, right? I'm just here to invite you to think about some things that I share with you. And I do speak with conviction because I know that they absolutely support me in my life, but that's my body and my biology and my physiology and my mindset. A lot of you asked me about my energy specifically and how do you get more energy, or it's always this compliment of your energy is so good, it feels so good. So that's part of the premise of why I'm sharing this, creating this episode for you. But I really just want to make this point to say that you got to listen to you and you got to be honest with yourself, obviously, all the time. And, if there's somebody saying you got to push right out the gate, but you don't feel that because maybe that time in the morning is it's where your feminine energy really wants to just kind of take over you, and you want to make your tea slower, and you want to just take some time to put on your makeup and allow yourself to kind of think and process in that moment. And that's part of your morning ritual. That is so important, and fuck what anybody says. And conversely, if you are someone who, maybe, you're spending so much time and that time actually ends up taking more energy from you because you've done so much of this, biohacking, self-care stuff, that when it's time to get into focused action directed at your work or anything external like that, you're almost kind of depleted. And there is something to be said about that because, again, people could be so extreme with everything. So I'll close on this daily non-negotiable for me by saying, be honest with yourself. See what you really need to invigorate yourself, to connect with yourself. Again, that's really the most important thing that I'm offering in this particular daily ritual. Whatever you need to do to feel your best out the gate, to set you up to win. And it's not a situation where if you don't do the thing, you're not going to feel great and not win. It's not that. It's just, all I'm saying to you is whatever those things are, and they actually give you energy and they set you up to be more resilient and to be more focused and to be more intentional, clear, directional, and you feel more confidence and trust in yourself, that's what you fucking need to do. That's just my opinion. It doesn't matter what anybody else says or even what the activities are that give you all of what I just shared. It's just to say that that's how most all of us want to be functioning on a day-to-day level. So it's up to you, it's up to me to learn the ways at which we can set ourselves up best to experience all of that yummy stuff. My second daily non-negotiable is so guessable. If you know me or you've been paying attention to me, it's movement. Every day, my movement looks different, but every day I move. I have a variety of modalities. I do a lot of sprint training. I do a lot of weight lifting, resistance training, hot yoga, jujitsu when I'm home at the beach, doing beach sprints, runs, surfing. I mean, the list goes on. Walking. I just love feeling my body in action. And it's important. So we know that there are so many reasons why it's essential to move your body. People call it exercise. I call it training because it's actually it's a whole different approach when you're training, and it's the mental component more than anything. Outside of sprint training is actually training for a competition that I intend to do next year. However, outside of that, movement, exercise, training is not just about keeping your body healthy, your brain healthy, but it's literally about staying connected to your body, your physiology. People take that for granted, actually. You get up, you get ready, you go out, you do your day, and you almost forget that you have this thing called a body, right? Because why would you remember? You know, it's just part of who you are. You're not going to be like, oh, look, I have hands, right? And I'm not necessarily saying that you need to do that every day. Just kind of, oh, wow, I have hands. However, what I am suggesting here is that you want to connect with every part of your body. Number one, it keeps you very grateful for the fact that you have a healthy, capable body. And that gratitude goes a long way. When you are consistently grateful, appreciative for your body, your health, your vitality, guess what it does? Keeps it growing stronger, 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 right? And not just in a spiritual sense, but also in a down here, three-dimensional human condition sense, because you're going to have better behaviors, habits, standards that are going to help keep you in that place of stronger vitality, health, and, physical capabilities, right? When you're grateful for something, you tend to take care of it more. So it's really important to get into your body, get movement in to activate this connection to your body every single day. It's such an important, it's the vessel of your being, right? We don't just live up here in the mind. We actually live in this sensorial, touch it, taste it, feel it, hear it, see it world. And the more that we stay connected to our ability to, what keeps our senses strong is really, we're putting ourselves in a much better position to live a life that's enriched with vitality. For those of you who are new to my podcast, if you have not heard me speak on vitality yet, I do it all the time. Welcome to my show. Vitality, just got to insert this. The reason why I use vitality over health, the word health is kind of, in my mind, it's very baseline. It's almost the avoidance of disease and illness. And that's important. But I'm not going for baseline in my life. I'm going for absolute, optimal, kick-ass expressions of myself and the experiences that I can have from this expression of myself, this highest expression of myself. Vitality is health in spades. Vitality is where you are robust, where, your life is in technicolor. Like that's your senses take to your life in technicolor. It's where you are your most potent. It's where you're your most inspired. It's certainly where you're your most, let me say that again. It's where you're most magnetic. It's really a beautiful, powerful state to be living from. And in order to really optimize your vitality, you have to make movement a part of your day-to-day life. So even if it's walking throughout the day, I walk all the time throughout the day. I can't imagine just having a life where I'm just sitting all the time. I actually have a problem with sitting all the time. I call it a problem, but I have the joke internally is that I have a quota and it's about 2 hours. So long flights really suck. But the point is that more begets more. So the more that you move, the more that you move. It actually becomes much more challenging to sit. I sit in the morning in my morning ritual time. And then, before bed, I calm down and I sit and I listen to a podcast and go to bed. So there is this calming, sort of book-ended energy that does take place in my life. But once I'm done with that sitting in the morning, all the way up until the end when I'm sitting just resting right before bed, I'm fucking going. I'm moving and I love moving, in all the different ways that I shared with you and then some. So invitation to you is, are you moving every day in some way? Are you moving enough? There's this whole thing where some people will go and they'll push it at the gym for an hour, but then the rest of their day, they're barely moving. And it's actually not as advantageous to do that than it is to have smaller bouts of more intense movement or just even more movement throughout the day, period. Because again, it's this connectivity to your body. And that is not just a spiritual thing. That is, keeping blood flow, circulation, just all kinds of processes in your body that are very healthy, that are going to optimize your vitality, activated. So non-negotiable number 2 in my world is movement every single day. And if that's already not happening in your life, then this is your invitation to start thinking about the ways that you can just start increasing more movement every day into your life. And it doesn't have to be, a lot fast. It's actually much better to start to piece in just more, I always say inches make the mile, right? So an inch here, an inch there of more movement will add up to miles down the line. So just think about how you can do that if you're not already incorporating movement into your life daily. Final non-negotiable that I'm sharing with you in this episode. There are certainly more things that I do in the day that are just so habitual at this point. I don't even know if I'd call it a non-negotiable, but it's certainly the other aspects of my day that just stick are supportive to everything that I've been sharing with you and will continue to share with you in this final non-negotiable. So number 3 is create. Every single day, I have to create something. And I'm always creating for my business, which is beautiful. And I've created my life to be that. I'm an artist, and in many different ways I create. Creating is not just about, putting something in artistic form. Creating is about taking an idea in your mind and executing on it, taking a feeling from you and executing on it. So a great example for that one would be, in my world, a poem. I sit down and I write every day. I sit down and I'll just be feeling my feelings, and that will come out in some poetry or prose. And that's for me. I don't share all my writing, right? But it feels really good to express myself in that way. And that's just one example. It could be something in the kitchen. It could be a new makeup look that I feel like trying. It could be something with actual paints or sketching. It could be, there's so many different ways to be creative. And it's certainly an activity that keeps you grounded in your youth, in your imagination, in your feminine energy, because you have to be very open when you're in a state of creation. And that's not easy for everybody to do. Plus, a lot of people actually feel intimidated by creating because there's so much judgment before they even try. I know this is the case when I speak to a lot of women around journaling, a lot of times what keeps them from journaling is that they're already judging themselves before they start. They think that they need to be some kind of really great writer, some kind of poet, some kind of author or something. I'm not kidding. This is a real thing. And that's all an upstairs narrative that's just criticizing them and getting in the way of them actually just trying, just letting out whatever it is that wants to come out. But I have a great track record of converting these women into being strong journalers. Journalers. It's a fun word to say. Again, that's just an example, right? Writing, but it could be a lot of different things. You could be in the garden. I mean, it depends on where you live, your lifestyle. But for me, I have to create every day. And I'm inviting you to think about this in your world because, it's also what keeps you super inspired and connected to inspiration. It's actually very important to stay connected to inspiration, to be in spirit. A life outside of that, a life that does not have this connection becomes very sad very fast. It's like all the color just starts to go away from life. We don't want that. So creativity is actually certainly a skill, but to get into the act of creation is a practice that sharpens the skill. And it's something that is much deeper than, just creating something because, you're in the mood and, you think you want to just put something together and experiencing it. No. Again, go back to what I just said. It's staying connected to being in spirit so that you're keeping this energy that's very invigorating, that keeps you inspired, that keeps you curious. That curiosity piece is part of the inspiration piece. And it's so fucking important to keep this stuff very activated in your life. If you don't, before you know it, you're on this hamster wheel of life. Get up, go to work, come home, eat your food, watch your show, go to sleep, do it again tomorrow. No. I think if you're paying attention to me, that's probably not your life. And if it is currently where you're at in your life, the invitation here is to think about the ways that you can get more creative so that you can start to add more fun, more playful energy, more wonder, more curiosity, more imagination, more of this sort of passion into your life. I'm not saying you have to quit your job, everybody, and everybody needs to become a fucking, artist and, creator online. But I am saying for your own vitality and for, your own sense of youth and just to be invigorated in your life, to be enchanted in your life. You want life to feel romantic. I do. It's certainly a love story for me. And it's got nothing to do with anybody else, right? This is not like, oh, my partner. It's like, no. With my life. It's a very romantic exchange. And a big piece to that romance is the creative aspect of my life. That every single day, my hands get into some form of creation. And again, even if it's just a couple of sentences that just do something to me, because I'm a writer, right? So that really is a couple of sentences can go a long way for this woman. But for you, that might be something in the kitchen. That could be something in the garden. That could be sewing. That could be anything. That could be, sitting with your kids and creating something with their crayons and having fun with them in that way. My goodness, it's such a rad way to be creative, with your kids, because they've got all the energy to just create. And so I know in my world, with my incredible niece and nephews, I certainly get my hands in with them when I'm spending time with them and take advantage of being in that energy where nothing's off limits. Mentally, they're just putting things together that adults, we just don't go there anymore. So for me, it's, classes in session with my little ones. I'm like, teach me your ways, because I want those ways to stay very active in me for all the reasons that I just shared with you. So hopefully this non-negotiable of mine, it doesn't have to be a non-negotiable for you, but perhaps it was the invitation that you really needed to start just putting more creativity into your life, period. It doesn't have to be daily, doesn't even have to be weekly, but I am hoping that it becomes something that you do not lose a connection to for all the reasons, again, that I just shared with you. So daily non-negotiable number 1 is me first and then the world. Connect with yourself, even if it's just for 5 minutes before you go outward. Trust me, when you start to do this habitually, it gets really hard to not do it, because that time with yourself becomes the most sacred time of your day. Number 2, movement. You're likely someone who's already in the gym, moving a lot. I mean, I know a lot of you are active, in my community. If you're not, or even if you're kind of in and out, the invitation here with number 2 in my world is just to think about the ways that you are moving. Think about how movement makes you feel, and think about how you can incorporate more movement in your daily life that feels good. It doesn't have to be beast mode all the time, There's a place for that for sure. But I'm just saying, get more movement in daily and keep the connection to your beautiful, very important, miraculous body activated. And number 3, create more. Whatever that needs to be for you, however that shows up, again, doesn't have to be daily or weekly. The goal for me, besides just sharing that that's part of my world, giving you a little bit of an inside look into my life, it's for you to think about where you can be more creative in your life and activate more of your creativity, and certainly be aware of any self-judgment and criticism that gets in the way of you just attempting to be more creative. It takes courage to be creative, right? It's not even about people judging your shit. It's about you first. So be aware of that. And that's a really important piece. I'll just pull on that thread a little bit, because when you start to notice where you're judging yourself, that's a very important noticing, because then you first of all, you expand your self-awareness, which is gold. It's everything. Self-awareness is the ultimate agent for growth. We need that to just evolve in our lives, period. But certainly to evolve in the most incredible of ways. But once you catch it there, you'll be able to catch it in other areas of your life. You judging yourself, you being hard on yourself. And before you know it, it's going to get very interesting. You start to, when you're doing like the self-love work that I'm always talking about, but you notice you're being more judgmental here. Eventually, you'll graduate from that place and you'll start defending yourself from yourself. So from the inner critic, you start defending and telling the inner critic, and it doesn't have to be an argument with yourself. Sometimes it's this acknowledgement like, hey, thanks, you're just trying to keep me safe, but I don't need your help. To you, to the inner critic, right? Because that's ultimately a lot of times what's happening. It's this, the brain just, trying to protect you and from rejection or just not feeling great. So, again, pulling it back into the creativity piece. If you catch yourself being judgmental and criticizing yourself before you even put anything, even make an effort towards whatever it is that you feel inspired, you feel a feeling to want to express, notice that. Do the work to move past that and go create and keep creating. And I will keep creating here for you. I'd love to know how this episode impacted you. I'd also love to answer any questions that you would love my support on in a Q&A episode, because I've got a couple of those coming up, and I've already collected some incredible questions. I'd love to collect more from you. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please comment below, subscribe for sure, because that helps this channel grow and the podcast grow. Put your question in the comment box. And you could also DM me on Instagram, RoxyLook, RoxyLook. If you are a woman in my community here, I'd love to invite you to join my free empowered community, Queendom. So Queendom is just incredible. It's an incredible force of energy. It's a collective of women around the world that are just living life in Technicolor and moving anything out of the way that doesn't allow them to live their life in Technicolor, right? So pulling on what I shared in this episode earlier. But no, it really is a very sacred, special place for all the women that are there to share themselves, to be seen, heard, and felt, to connect. We have challenges every month. I do a monthly live call where I get to connect with you, and we have a lot of fun there. I pull goddess cards, oracle cards, and yeah, it's just so much fun. But it certainly is the place where you can go and learn, connect more, activate more self-confidence, more self-trust, more feminine energy. So if you'd like to be a part of Queendom, there is a link to join in the podcast show notes, YouTube description box. I cannot wait to meet you in Queendom, and I cannot wait to be right here with you again next week on The Roxanne Show. Queen, this is your call to greatness. If you are ready, and I mean truly ready, to shift anything in your outer experience, your outer reality, your finances, your health, your relationship, anything career related, anything spiritual, any shift that you want to make that has to do with your reality has to first start with shifting who you are, your self-identity. My Future Self digital course is your supportive blueprint that helps you achieve this. The inner shapes the outer. So when you get crystal clear on your core beliefs, your core values, your core desires, your high heart goals, when you learn how to rewrite parts of your past that maybe don't feel so great and instead leverage those experiences to be fuel for you to expand and to grow, this is how you start to change the game behind the game of life, which all starts and ends with you. I've designed this course from my heart, soul, and experience to be a femininely fierce experience for you to uncover and connect with your most authentic self. And as a Future Self student, you get 3 months free membership access to Queendom. This is where we really get to connect. Queendom is such a rad, sacred, empowered space where every month you get a live Q&A call with me so we can connect and troubleshoot any area of your life that you would like, or just get some encouragement from me as well as the other queens in the community. This is a really sacred space, and I will see you in Queendom.